I had a comment recently from Hydra Gaming asking if I could make a tutorial on how to make backgrounds move within Rough Animator. So that's what I'm going to do on today's episode of the Expat Animator. So let's go ahead and switch over to Rough Animator, and we're just going to create a new project. And this time, normally I create my projects at 1920 by 1080. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that we can move around the canvas and just for tutorial purposes. And what I don't mess around with the margins. So my canvas size is the same as my camera size. So we want the camera size, we're going to make it 720p. So 1280 by 720. But then we're going to add some space to the margins. So I actually am going to put in my 1920 here on the width of the canvas. So now you're seeing that that's getting bumped up to 5,120. And I don't need to put any on the height for today's demonstration. So I'm just going to say OK. And when I do this, I actually get an alert that the width can't be over 4,096. And I forgot about that in Rough Animator. So let me just get my calculator and I'll do 4,096. And we're going to subtract the 1280 that we've got here. That leaves us with 2,816. And we're going to divide that by 2. And that gives us 1408. So I should be able to put in 1408 here. And that gives us the 4,096 max on the width that we can do. So it should accept this now. So now let me zoom out and you can see my canvas here. So I've got a lot of space here on the left and the right, and then our camera view is right here in the middle. So now that we've got this set up correctly, let's go ahead and bring in a couple of images here. I'm going to import a background image that I've got. And you can see that this is wider than the camera view. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and place it right about here on the edge. And let me zoom in. Right there. And then I'll just click off of it to set it. And so let's go ahead. I'm just going to call this ocean. And so here's the trick. We want to add a drawing after because we're going to be using the make cycle feature to do this. Basically, it's keyframing of the background. So we need to add a drawing after this. So add drawing, add after. And once we're on this blank drawing here, then we can click make cycle. And so here's the green cycle. And now you can see our tool options changes to this cycle function here. And if I want this to be animating for 3 seconds, I know I've got 24 frames a second. So 24 times 3 is going to be 72. So I'm going to add 71 here. And that should give us 3 seconds of animation. And there's a 3 right here. So basically, now we can go to the last frame of our cycle. And we want to move this from one side to the other. And there's a couple ways we can do that. But the easiest way is we're going to use our tool options. And we're going to use the X offset. And we're going to add, it looks like 9 pixels there, and you can see how it shifted to the other side. So if I were to move this, less pixels, then it's going to place it in different areas. So I'm just going to move it over until it gets right to the edge there. And then I'm basically done. So if I were to move this playhead, you're going to see that the Rough Animator program has interpolated the drawings in between these two keyframes. And there you go. So I'm going to keep this as a cycle so I can make adjustments in the future if I need to. But what I could do is I could select the cycle and I can convert these to just drawings. And then they're going to be individual drawings instead of a cycle. But I don't need to do that for this. And then there's one other thing I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and modify layers. We're going to add an empty layer. I'm going to bring in another image on top of this to complete my shot here. So let's import an image, and I've got this binocular image, and I'm just gonna select anywhere off of the image to place it. And then I need to stretch this to the length of the project. So a couple ways I could do that. I can grab it here and pull it like this. Or, let me undo that. I could have it selected, and then I can make this 72 frames, and then it will do the same thing. So now I've got this image on top of my moving background. And this is, I'm replicating a shot from my Traveling Gringos, one of my episodes. So now I should be able to play this, and we should be able to watch the background move behind this image of the binoculars in the boat. So it works well, and when you hit this play button, you can see that it gets rid of all this extra canvas that's outside of the camera view, which is nice. It kind of gives you a clean view of what your animation, what your final animation is going to look like. So maybe the speed of that is too fast or too slow, and that's where I can come into my cycle and make some adjustments if I need to. But this is basically the easiest way to keyframe your background within Rough Animator. Now there's another way you can do this by using this camera tool, but I'm not going to talk about that today because this is basically the way that I've been using the feature to make elements move within Rough Animator. But maybe I can make a tutorial on how to use the camera feature to do something similar. Go ahead and leave it in the comments if you guys want to see that. So Hydra Gaming, hopefully that helps you understand how to make your background move within Rough Animator. This has been another episode of the Expat Animator. My name is Patrick. Thanks for joining me today, and keep on animating.